This is for you.
Oh, Fortuna.
In your face, Crayon, I see nothing but horror. Whose life do the gods demand from us? This whole nation is waiting to hear from you.
You want me to speak? Fear forbids me to speak.
When Thebes is down, this royal house, your own house is down. I command you to speak.
You command me to speak? You'll pray your death.
Science cures nothing. This whole nation is sick. Speak. You can cure it.
The cure can be so drastic, men prefer the sickness.
When torture has crushed you, will you fear the anger of the crown? When will you speak?
Crowns have been crushed by the words of the tortured.
You shall go back into the underworld in your own blood, like a cat, a cheap sacrifice, unless you tell us what these rites have revealed!
A king cannot grant a man less than his silence.
And a kingdom can be deadlier than the speech.
If silence is forbidden, then freedom is finished.
Power to command finished, the throne finished, the kingdom finished!
Prepare yourself, Oedipus. At the source of the river Durs, in a narrow valley, is a clump of black holly. In the thick of it, a gigantic cypress reaches out over the whole wood. A huge shadow imprisoning everything. An oak tree, ancient and massive, has died there. Laurels, myrtles, and alders all struggling for the light, but the place belongs to the cypress. Right in among its roots, a spring wells up. Freezingly cold. It is almost dark in there. Underfoot quagmire, a stinking slime. As soon as the old priest arrived, he started. There was no need to wait for night in that gloom. They dug a trench. Into that they threw burning wood brought from the funeral pyres. The priest begins to make movements with sprays broken from the cypress, to and fro, black robes trailing behind, yew twigs twisted round his head and white hair. Black sheep and black oxen are dragged backwards and toppled alive into the burning trench. The bellowing does not last long. Flames leap up. Smoke and the stench of burning flesh fill the wood. Now the priest begins to call up the things of the underworld. He calls to death itself over and over, working himself into an ecstasy, face contorted, foam thickening around his mouth. He argues with the dead. He cajoles and threatens, screams, mutters, sings, whispers. Now more blood onto the altars, more living animals into the flames, the trench swamped with new blood, milk too, and wine poured from his left hand, and that incantation over and over, bow to the ground, stamping, voice convulsed, not human anymore, bringing the dead up. Then we felt the ground shaking. We felt the earth lift under us, and the wood shook. Suddenly dogs were baying, a hellish yelling of dogs. It was shaking the earth, coming up, and Tiresias was shouting, "They have heard! I have opened death! They're coming!" Twigs and dust rained down. Great trees split from top to bottom and lifted their roots as the earth began to tear open. I saw things in the darkness, moving, many pale masks lifted and sinking. I saw dark rivers and marshes. I saw writhing things. I could hear human voices and the screeching and laughing of mouths that were never on earth. I heard sobbing deeper than anything on earth. I saw every kind of disease. I knew their faces. I heard them and knew their voices. I saw every torment, every injury, every horror spinning like flames and shadows, sickening forms, faces, mouths, reaching up, clutching toward us and crying. The roaring of dogs' voices, screams, jabbering groans, indescribable laughter erupting as if the earth were crammed, splitting with it. Manto was accustomed to the old man's miracles, but she stood petrified too. None of us could move. Only Tiresias seemed in control of himself, but he could see none of it. He carried straight on. He began to call for the ghosts. And they came. A growing sound, a humming that seemed to silence everything. Like a vast flock of autumn starlings, all crying in their thin, bodiless voices. Till at last one of them lay hold of the roots and clung there. His face pressed into the earth. Tiresias began to call to this creature, commanding it to come up. Again and again he called, and at last it looked up. It lifted its face, and I recognized Laius, our king. Laius. He pulled himself up. It was him. His whole body was plastered with blood. His hair, beard, face, all one terrible wound. A mash of mud, brains, blood. His mouth lay open, and the tongue inside it began to move and quiver. He began to speak. You insane family of Cadmus. You will never stop slaughtering each other. Finish it now.